Hello, I'm Nishtha Gautam. December the 3rd is not just any other date on the calendar. It is actually celebrated as International Day for people with disabilities. Now, the word disabilities, there is a lot of debate around it, whether people who have a physical or a cognitive limitation, are they disabled really? There is a lot of conversation around this idea of inclusion, that no kind of discrimination is acceptable on the basis of gender, race, color, community, religion. But when it comes to discrimination on the basis of disability, I don't think we are still talking very much about it, or maybe we are just talking and the real story on the ground is slightly different. So we're going to talk about inclusion from thought to realization. Yes, every idea begins with a thought, but what is more important than the thought itself is its implementation on ground. And this initiative, which has been brought to you by the Quint and Accenture, is dedicated to this very process from thought to realization. I have a fantastic panel with me to have this discussion on disability, inclusion, and ability. When we put a hyphen between the word, what happens then, right? And now I want to introduce this panel to you. And I start with Gagan Chandok, who is president of the Thalassemia and Sickle Cell Society of Bangalore. Very warm welcome to you, Gagan.
Thank you.
Then I have Asma Banu, Senior Analyst, Accenture Delivery Center, Accenture India. Amar Jain, Contract Analyst, Contract Management and Global Legal Network at Accenture. Pranav Lal, he is somebody who has, who's become a celebrity of sort as the blind photographer. But and we have to talk about this epithet, the blind photographer. What does he have to say about that? I have so many questions about it, but allow me to introduce Priya Bhargava, and she's EAP on-site counselor, counseling psychologist, and she was Miss Wheelchair India 2015. Very, very warm welcome from the Quint and Accenture to all the panelists. Gagan, my very first question to you is that when it comes to disabilities, when the discourse is fashioned around disability and inclusion, usually the ideas get restricted to disabilities that are visible. Right, somebody who cannot speak, somebody who has difficulty in hearing, somebody who has motor skill limitations. But thalassemia is kind of a disability. It's something that is only known to the person who's dealing with it. Now,
right.
How does an organization deal with a situation like that?
Well, first question to you is, do you think I'm a person who has any kind of a medical condition? Do I look disabled to you?
Absolutely not. None of you do, actually.
I'll tell you why. The reason is I am a thalassemic warrior. I have thalassemia. I'm a person who has got a disability which you cannot see, and there's a reason to it why it is called as invisible disability. Unless I don't tell you that I have thalassemia, you will not be able to detect it. And that is because I was lucky enough, because I got the best possible treatment, and it is due to which I'm able to be normal and show myself as normal. But what behind my smile, you do not know what all I go through every 15 days or every day of my life. I take transfusions every 20 days, 15 days. 2 units, and I take injections in the night, which is the needle is it has been pricked under my skin of my stomach, and that needle is going to be there for 10 to 12 hours. So you cannot see those wounds, you cannot see the scars, because the way because it is we have brought ourselves to such an extent that we hide ourselves, our disability, so that it cannot be we cannot be judged about it. Because let's be honest, if we talk about any kind of a medical condition, even now the social stigma of the Indian society is, oh, he's got this disability, let's take a step back. Myths of, oh, it could be contagious, I've heard it all. So, and at times, yeah, being in unconscious bias and other things. As an organization, when you come to know about a person who's got an invisible disability, there's something called as reasonable accommodation. Understand what he or she requires in order to deliver what he or she has to as an organization, as work-wise. When you get into conversation, understand the reasonable accommodation. He will have his bad days, he will also have his good days. Support them when they're in those bad days, and they'll be loyal enough to give you the best, because you just give them the support and sky's the limit. Never.
I think that's a very good, yeah, that's a very good way of putting at it. Support them in the bad days, and they're gonna do their best in the, when the good days are there. Now, let me move to Asma. Because Asma is joining us from the Accenture Accessibility Center in Bangalore. And I think the idea behind this center is perhaps make the good days better and bad days bearable. Right? So what makes this center work, really?
Yeah, well, I have accessed the devices in the accessibility center provided here, and which is really reasonable, and it helps me in my work. It makes me more comfortable to do my daily tasks. And also the devices are like, they have taken extra attention and care. Accenture has taken extra attention to provide us these devices to make our work more productive. So I'm really privileged to be a part of this big umbrella who cares about our needs.
Mm-hmm. Right. So would you say that your experience, whatever time you have spent here in the center with the company, it has kind of redefined inclusion? Because inclusivity in name is very different from making an individual reach their true potential by providing them aid where necessary.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to highlight that Accenture has brought me into this corporate job after an 8 years break. Mm-hmm. Yes, because I'm a mother of 3 girls, and I had taken a long maternity break, which Accenture has given me an opportunity to come back with so many of the facilities given, and given me allowed me to be a part of it again. So I'm really grateful and thankful for it.
That's quite wonderful. Now, Priya, I'm sorry that I'm going from one woman to another, but the question actually that I have for you leads from what Asma just said, that she was hired after a break of 8 years. 8 years is like a death of a woman's professional life, this break, because when it comes to women, the discrimination that they face in the workplace is phenomenal, even if they are able-bodied and able-minded or brightest of the lot. But when it comes to somebody who has certain physical or cognitive limitations, the battle is even harder. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, of course, those people who have both kinds of disability, like cognitive as well as physical disability, they have to face this gap as a big challenge. Since every year there is a growth in every aspect, be it a professional way, be it in other manner. So when they have to join the company again after a gap, it becomes a big challenge to them. At that time, organizations should support them by guiding them, by giving them some extra support through a team which can teach them what are the differences that they are seeing at present in the company. Yeah, this is my point of view.
Right, I'll come back to you, Priya. Once I've had my first round with all the panelists. Now, Pranav,
Yes.
my first question has to be, how do you feel about this epithet, the blind photographer?
It actually makes me laugh because I take pictures by using an artificial eye effectively. So when I am taking pictures, I am at least technically not blind. Now, whether I'm experiencing vision or not, I don't know. But I certainly have a vision-like sensation. At least that's what I imagine vision to be like. So the epithet is incorrect, but I find it amusing.
It is amusing, but do you also find it offensive to an extent, because it aims to kind of box you into just one category?
I haven't really thought about it, and I really don't have the bandwidth to get offended. My focus is on taking the image. That's what I do.
That's fantastic. I don't have the bandwidth to be offended, where everybody in this country is waiting to take offense on one thing or the other. Right. Amar, last but not the least.
Sure.
Yes. So, Amar, my question for you has to be about your experience as a legal expert. What is it that people face the most in terms of discrimination when they're applying for a job where they're competing for a contract, and they don't get it simply because there is a lack.
Right.
It could be physical or cognitive or whatever.
Sure. Nishtha, I think if you look at discrimination per se, it has various forms. Right? It could be infrastructural, it could be economical, it could be cultural. But I think, to me, the biggest discrimination that people face with disability is the attitudinal discrimination. I think that is the biggest factor that would decide to what extent you can get things, to what extent your existence is recognized, to what extent you are allowed to enjoy the rights and entitlements that you have. But attitudinal discrimination, I guess, is the biggest problem.
I think that sets the ball rolling for the discussion further. When it comes to hiring and recruitment, since we are talking about corporate culture, do you feel that it is, despite all the claims, all the promises that are made by companies, when it comes to actual actual action on the ground, a lot of them just withhold the true potential that they have in this space?
Sure, Nishtha, if you look at it, the recruitment scenario, and since we are in India and talking of India Inc. as such, let's look at that framework.
Yeah.
Around 1990s is when you started talking about disability. 1995 Act came, you had the government reservation, etc. Right? That's where your initial recruitment started. If I talk of corporate India per se, then thanks to initiatives like Valuable 500 or the Next Gen CXOs, etc. And even before that, say early 2000 or 2010 onwards, you have seen hirings being made available, opportunities being made available to people with disabilities. But as you rightly said, a couple of things that we still need to understand and get better at is equal opportunity. And when I say equal opportunity, not just the fact that you can apply for any role, but when you apply for any specific role, what does it entail? Whether we need to make any changes, be it physical, be it digital, be it anywhere else, to enable you to perform at par with others in the same role. Then the facilities, as somebody rightly said in the panel about reasonable accommodations, right? Now that entirely is a different ball game, because who bears the financial burden? Although law says that it's the employer which has to account for it, but even that is an important factor. And then I think if you look at Indian companies and global companies, then there's a difference. The way disability recruitment is implemented, the way disability culture is getting meaningfully, embedded in the organizational value. That's where I think there are differences that we need to still kind of sort out.
Right. Gagan, do you think that when it comes to recruiting people who have certain disabilities, employers do not want to spend that kind of money? What is the incentive for the employer? Why would they put in infrastructure in place when they can easily hire somebody for whom that infrastructure is not required at all?
Well, let me put it this way. Employers are scared, yes, to invest money, let it be in recruiting, as well as at times they recruit people to organizations in the name that I am doing something for PWD, but do not want to invest the time and infrastructure or training in order to develop that person to an asset. Whichever company I have worked for, I have always given it my best that when I leave that organization, I'm remembered. Because I'm not remembered for my disability, but I'm remembered for the hard work, determination, what kind of what have I delivered to the organization. Right. So coming back to to your question, yes, if you go ahead and invest time, you invest your energy, train them, they can be huge assets. We have a lot of people who have not declared their disability, who are VPs and directors and are CEOs, just because they and others are not, because they just said, let's declare a PWD. So first, remove that fear that the PWD will not be used against it, but their work will be evaluated, not their PWD status.
The stigma that Gagan kind of hinted at, that a lot of people do not declare that they have a certain disabilities. Of course, certain conditions are difficult to hide, and visual impairment is one of them. So, have you felt, now I want to delve into personal space here, did you feel this fear of being ridiculed or made fun of or undermined?
See, discrimination I have already faced since I acquired this disability at the age of 19 years. So when I got this disability, I have faced a lot of discrimination from different people in different aspects, be it working from home, or be it working as a model or something like that. But now what I'm seeing is, as much as I'm getting professionally qualified, discrimination has been reduced because I am able to prove myself through my work. So now people see my work more than my disability. And that's a positive change. And even being a counselor, I would say whenever I do counsel, people get motivated the way I am progressing, the way I am showing to the world that we can do anything, whatever we want to.
Right. Now, I have to ask Amar, when, after listening to Priya and Gagan about discrimination, what are the specific things that you and your company have put together as a framework that something like this does not happen, that discrimination on the basis of disability does not happen, and that people who have come to the organization with some disability do not have to constantly prove themselves that they belong here?
I think that's a very important question. And I think that would be one of the main key takeaways for this discussion. As a PWD employee, I would say even a potential candidate, the first thing that you encounter as part of your journey for applying for any job is kind of the career portal of your company, where you list down that as a company, what is it that employees with disabilities are entitled to? How do we look at disability? Right. The second aspect of it is the interview process, how sensitized your interview manager is when they're talking about your disability, when they're asking questions related to it, when they're assessing the impact of it, if any, on the job role that you are kind of applying for, right? Third thing, when you join the company itself, right on the day of your onboarding, you will, as a person with disability, will need to figure out what kind of accommodations you will need to ask for. For example, if I'm blind, I will require a screen reading software, or I'll require a scanning and OCR software. Now, given the focus of Accenture towards this inclusion and disability, we have a very good tool where we can go and request for reasonable accommodations. Otherwise, what happens is, in a normal setup, an employee will keep figuring out who should he go to. And even if he goes to somebody, if he talks to his immediate supervisor or if he talks to his team, then the next question is, who will pay for it? Whether it is my project entity, or whether it is there is a global budget, or whether it's all those things centralized in a single place. And slowly conversations are also happening, not just for employability, enablement, etc. Now we are looking at enhancing the experiences of our employees. And when we say enhancing, meaning how we can best retain them. Is there a need to provide them any kind of training or solve their assistive technology challenges, accessibility challenges, and how we can see their career progression happening? I think those are the areas where Accenture is clearly focusing on.
Right. Asma, I want to ask you, since we are talking about reasonable accommodations. So what are the facilities that you have been using at the center, and how have they improved your personal or professional life?
Yeah, from the Accessibility Center, I've started using adjustable table, so which is very helpful in adjusting the height according to my comfort, and also it minimizes the impact on my spine, as well as I use a bigger monitor where I can zoom and see things clearly. So these two devices have made my work easier at Accenture.
Right. Pranav, again, I have to talk to you about your day job. How do you feel about that aspect of your life? Your personality as a corporate, as a member of India Inc.
Look, my days have endless variety. I don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next, which is why I enjoy what I do. Uh, how I feel about it is mostly, my work's very digital because I work in information security. It isn't a challenge. Where the challenges start are very specific scenarios where, okay, somebody says, oh, let me send you a screenshot. Well, superb inclusion, send me the screenshot, and then you tell them, hang on, since I can't see, it's better you don't send me that screenshot. Tell me what you're doing. Otherwise, sometimes you simply just say, okay, go ahead, send it, use the OCR, infer what you have to from the screenshot, and go on with the rest of your life. So, it isn't the disability, 99% of times is not really a factor. It is just a regular work day. Yeah, on some specific areas, it becomes a major factor. So, for example, if I need to present to a client, then I always get a sighted colleague to double check so that, okay, the colors are right and things are aligned correctly and so on. I can do that with technology, especially alignment. But then, it's very efficient for a sighted person to do it. So, it cuts both ways. One is, of course, the tasks you need to do. The other is, in some cases, disability technology still has to catch up a little bit, as well as regular software needs to catch up. Some of that's happening, some of that is fairly glacial. So, for example, before we started this recording, we were figuring out the frame of the image. Now, it's not hard using image processing to actually tell you whether you're in the frame or not. There is software available to do that. However, does it look good or not
Right.
is a question that, as
Right.
of now at least, I haven't found any machine that can answer. And you know, it's one is reasonable accommodation, that's fine. But if I go to a client, I don't want there to be a difference between me presenting and someone else presenting. Why should I have an erroneous pixel of the wrong color, for instance? I
Right.
don't want that.
Right. I think that's a very, very interesting perspective from your side, Pranav. And yes, there is a lot of catching up to be done, but I just want all of you to weigh in on the progress that India has made uh, in terms of inclusion of people with disabilities in the corporate world. Gagan, go first.
Well, earlier, about a couple of years back, thalassemia, sickle cell, hemophilia, the invisible disabilities was not in the list. It is there now in the list. Now corporates are recognizing it. When you used to go, when it was introduced for a couple of years, again 2-3 years, it wasn't recognized by corporates. They were still in the assumption that when you talk about PWD, it's got to do with visual or hearing kind of a thing. So that has changed. Now I see that the corporates want to understand what is invisible disability. What is neurodiversity? Now we have got a lot of neurological issues which have come into part of PWD category, which is good, which wasn't there, and I was a part of a kind of a program which spoke about this, like autism. What is it? Those also part of disability, right? They're invisible, you cannot see it, but now companies and organizations, corporates are all coming to understand what is neurodiversity, what is thalassemia, what is sickle cell, what is hemophilia, what is exactly the problem, what do you need as a reasonable accommodation, what kind of support structure you need to understand and sensitize the your team as well as the themselves as leaders. They're trying to say that leaders, this is what is invisible disability, this is autism, this is thalassemia, this is how you need to do to remove the fear factor from recruiting them to your teams.
Right.
That is the first step, which is good. And first step is today, actually we talking about it. This program is also a first step as well, that corporate as well as a media outlet has come forward to bring this forward. This is a conversation. This is a journey which will not end. It has to keep continuing.
Right.
That's
Asma. Asma, how things have changed? How, in your experience, how things have changed?
Yes, the corporates have become more inclusive, and also especially on a women employee. Like I said, according about my experience, that I've come back after 8 years. So they have improved, not only improved, they have done remarkable experience in employing PWDs, as well as giving reasonable accommodations.
Right. Priya?
Yeah, my organization is quite helping, understanding, and they have been supporting me, whatever needs I ask for. So according to me, yes, people are welcoming and people do understand our needs. A few points are there which I would like to address. Like suppose some organization is accessible, but the outer area which is under government or some regional authorities, they are still not accessible. So if
Right.
company is accessible and outdoor area is not accessible, how would I reach to the company itself? So this can be demotivating to most of the specially able people.
Right.
So these are few points. Even like we do earthquake drills, fire drills. Why can't we do disability drills? So
Right.
that everybody should be educated how to behave, kind of attitude they should show.
Right.
We do not need sympathy. We do not need any kind of like pity, but we certainly need to make them understand that what do we what are our special needs,
Right.
which
Right.
are our necessity.
Right.
It's
Thank you, Priya.
luxurious, which is not a luxury need. This is just the need which is very essential for us.
Absolutely. So, Amar, what do you have to say about the progress that India Inc. has made, and where are we going forward?
Sure, Nishtha. I think India Inc., as far as in terms of recruitment and opportunities for PWDs are concerned, I think the fact that we are open to hire people with disabilities, the fact that we are looking at frameworks like equal opportunity, frameworks like reasonable accommodation, or even workplace accessibility to an extent is a good move. It's a good start. I believe we need to move it to the next level where we talk of leaders with disabilities who are part of the organizations, be it a director or a CFO or at that level. That is one. Second, we need to also look at our internal accessibility solutions, to make sure that the workplaces are more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Third, I think we also need to somewhere promote the culture of entrepreneurs with disability, because or people who are designing products for persons with disability as entrepreneurs are able to sustain their businesses. So these are some of the areas I think we need to focus more on.
Right. And Gagan, do you think that Accenture has actually taken a lead here in a way?
Yeah, it did.
Because I also want you to delve into your experience with the company.
Well, I did work for Accenture, and I left the organization 2 years back. But when I was there for 10 years, it was a interesting journey as such, because at that point of time, thalassemia was not part of PWD, but I did inform my managers. And I got a lot of support, from my managers as such. The leaders define what the organization does. The company might be good, it might have all the controls, everything in place, but end of the day, it needs to reach the ground level. And if you're at that point of time, my managers were there, they gave me the support I required and all of that. But yeah, it had started the journey at that point of time, and it has progressed.
Right. And Asma, we see, is one of the beneficiaries
Exactly.
of what you started and what you saw with your initial experience with the company. And Asma has great things to say about how Accessibility Center has improved her life, not just as a professional, but in personal space as well. So I think this discussion is just a beginning, as you rightly said, that why we need to have a discussion like that is because every action on ground has its seed in a thought. And I think all the panelists here have given all of us something to chew on. And my biggest takeaway personally is is something that Amar said, that it is not about making things available, making framework, but also when they are actually being used by people who they are addressed for, and people are able to make their lives better, and there is an attitudinal change in the so-called able-bodied people, while dealing with people who need a little more infrastructure. Let's just say that. No pity, no nothing, no rona dhona, just a tiny adjustment here and there. Thank you very much for being a part of this discussion, and I wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Nishtha.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Nishtha.
you.